All right, so we talked about naming ionic compounds. Next up, we're going to move on to covalent compounds. And so while ionic compounds were a metal plus a nonmetal, covalent compounds are two or more nonmetals. So we're just talking about nonmetals only. Non-metals only. And so this has a different type of bonding. Instead of transferring electrons, covalent bonds share electrons. They share electrons, and they share electrons in what are known as chemical bonds. And so we'll go in a lot deeper on this later on, but for now we just need to know that when we have multiple nonmetals, we see a sharing of electrons. So there's CH4, an example of a covalent compound. And so here's how the naming goes. There's some kind of number prefix, unless it's 1. If it's 1, then it's ignored. So if it's mono, it's ignored for the first part. And then it's the name of the element that is more towards the bottom left. And then another number prefix, and then the name of the element that's more on the top right. And then it gets the "ide" in there as well. So these prefixes are the same as the hydrate. So mono, di, tri, tetra, penta, hexa, hepta, octa, nona, deca, right? So something like CO, we see both carbon and oxygen are both nonmetals. So we have a covalent carbon. And so we don't put the mono in front of the carbon because it's 1, so we ignore that. So carbon, but then we do put the mono for the oxygen. We don't ignore the second one. So this becomes carbon monoxide, right? Carbon monoxide. You have a carbon monoxide detector probably somewhere in your house. Next up here, we have CO2. So again, we ignore the mono on the carbon, but this time we have 2 oxygens, so we would say it's dioxide, right? So we have carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide. Next up is N2O4. So here we have 2 nitrogens, 4 oxygens. So we say dinitrogen tetra oxide. Next up, BCl3. So go ahead and figure that one on your own. Sulfur hexafluoride. Iodine heptafluoride. And then tetraphosphorus decaoxide. So go ahead, pause the video and figure all this stuff out. All right, so boron, we have 1 boron, 3 chlorine, so that's going to end up being boron trichloride. Sulfur hexafluoride, sulfur is S, fluoride is F, hexa means that there's 6 of them, so that'll be SF6. Iodine heptafluoride, iodine means I, fluoride is F, hepta means 7, so IF7. Tetraphosphorus decoxide, so phosphorus is P, tetra means 4, and then we have the oxygen for the oxide, and then there's 10 of them. Here's just another example of some more nomenclature for covalent compounds. So go ahead, pause the video, take a look at the names, make sure you understand why they have